pointed out to her the pitiable state of the Samadhi. From about 1905 to about 1921, the Samadhi of Tyagaraja was completely derelict and it had been run down. So Bidha Krishnappa wrote to Nagarathnamma and said that she had to do something about it. Nagarathnamma, let's not forget, was actually quite wealthy at that time. She immediately left for Tiruvayyaru, and she was shocked to see the plight of the Samadhi, as well as the infighting that existed, and infighting that really caused much neglect to the Samadhi. She initially won the support of the Periya Katchi, which comprised of several friends of hers at that time, musical friends. And through a series of personal investments, she decided to devote her entire wealth to the upkeep, to the maintenance of the Samadhi, and also to the unification of the two sabhas, the two kachis that used to perform the Aradhana in those days. So she invested her entire personal investment and her personal wealth in this pursuit and launched into a series of behind-the-scenes moves, not all of them completely legal, not all of them completely acceptable to everyone on both sides of the divide, and not all of them completely above board either. Nagarathnamma had an ambition, and she pursued it with single-minded devotion. She actually initially purchased the Samadhi site for herself. So that was really the linchpin that pulled everything together. Until today, the Samadhi that exists at Tiruvayyaru is the property of the Bangalore Nagarathnamma Trust. So she actually purchased the Samadhi site herself, and because she purchased it, she could do with it what she wanted. She refurbished it and made it a site of great grandeur. She asked for favors and rode a rough ride to ensure that the shrine was constructed around the Samadhi. It's a beautiful shrine. I showed some pictures of that in the previous lecture about a year and a half ago. The shrine was constructed in 1925 with her own investments, and the Kumbhabhishekam was conducted on the 7th of January 1925. Ramudu Bhagavathar was appointed by Nagarathnamma as a priest for the daily celebrations and so on. And Ramudu Bhagavatar's family till today continues to conduct the rites and the daily pujas at the temple. By about 1930s, I think it was around 1930, several youngsters such as Ariyakudi, Musiri Subramania Iyer, and Chamangudi Srinivasa Iyer, who were all youngsters at that time, had begun to play extremely important roles in the conduct of the Aradhana. They not only performed at these functions, they were involved heavily in the fund collection and also in the separation of the Chinna Kachi and the Periya Kachi. Seniors such as Maharajapuram Vishwanath Iyer and Pallanam Sanjeevarao were also of the view at that time that the two kachis had to be merged, and Nagarathnamma worked on all of these people to ensure that that merger happened. Ariyakudi Ramanuja Iyengar convened a meeting in Madras in the first week of January 1940. This was attended by C.V. Rajagopalacharya, who had by then become extremely close to Nagarathnamma. Nagarathnamma, of course, was the president of the Nagarathnamma Trust that purchased the Samadhi and held the, if you like, the trump card to make sure that the kachis got together. And the Periya Kachi was represented by Thiruri Miralai brothers, and Musiri Chamangudi represented the Chinna Kachi, and it was decided that a new trust would be formed. They had no other way. Nagarathnamma held all the trump cards. And as a result, the Tyaga Brahma Mahotsava Sabha came into existence in January 1940. And it was this Sabha that conducted the festival in 1940, the Aradhana. And because of Nagarathnamma, she was able to actually pull all of these individuals together. Muttaya Bhagavathar, Harikeshanallur Muttaya Bhagavathar, when he came to know of the unification, performed for the first time in 1941 after several years. Up until then, women were barred from singing in the Aradhana, but the redoubtable Nagarathnamma flouted this tradition by claiming that the Samadhi was her own, so she could do in it what she pleased. So from then on, women started performing. It was only in 1941 that women performed for the first time, and from then on, women have been performing at the Aradhana. She also made sure that T.N. Rajaratnam Pillai, who was, and is probably still, the greatest ever Nadaswaram Vidwan, performed in the 1941 Tyagaraja Aradhana. Thanks to this lady, the life of the Aradhana and the shape in which the Aradhana was held was changed completely, irrevocably. In 1941, for the first time, group renditions of Pancharatnams was introduced for the first time, and Palladam Sanjeevarao spontaneously played Chetulara in Raga Bhairavi, and that tradition exists even till today. Bhairavi Chetulara is played and then followed by the Pancharatnam singing. But all of this was possible mainly due to the dedication of several musicians and one woman, Bangalore Nagarathnamma. By 1948, Nagarathnamma's health had declined considerably. She wrote her will and handed it over to her great friend C.V. Rajagopalacharya. She dedicated the Samadhi premises, which she had purchased out of her own funds, to the Nagarathnamma Trust, with Rajagopalacharya as one of the trustees. She forbade any commercial organizations near the Samadhi and constructions. She declared that the Tyaga Brahma Mahotsava Sabha be given access to the Samadhi to perform the Aradhana. Saint Ramanu Bhagavatar and his descendants were given rights to perform the daily puja. The will, which exists in the Madras Library, is such an intricate and spectacular document, and she had no help. One would have thought that Rajagopalacharya had helped her construct the will, but she wrote it on her own. One of her last visitors in 1952 was A.R. Sundaram, the singer from Chennai. She sang for A.R. She sang Upacharamalu in Bhairavi, with Abhinaya performed as she sat. On 19th May 1952, as she sat on her reclining chair, she watched a procession travel past her house. On asking what it was, she was informed that it was Ramanu Bhagavatar's young son who had drowned in the river Kaveri the previous night. By then, she had become quite infirm already, but the news of this demise, and she actually loved the young boy, and she hoped that Ramanu Bhagavatar's young boy would take over the tradition of performing the daily rites and so on at the Samadhi. But the boy was extremely dear to Nagarathnamma's heart herself and had almost adopted him again as she had Banibai earlier on. But the pain of the loss was insufferable, and she didn't know about it. And so she lapsed into a progressive state of repair. And the doctors at that time wanted to inject her, but she said that a body which had the blood of Tyagaraja could not take a needle and would not take a needle. And so she, over a period of about 2 or 3 days, she lapsed continuously. It was at that time that Bandibai came to Thiruvayaru and Nagarathnamma passed away. The chariot, which was normally reserved for taking Tyagaraja around Thiruvayaru, was summoned, much to the chagrin of several of the Brahmins present there. How could a chariot be used to carry a demised body, and that to a body for Devadasi? But the entire Thiruvayaru closed down. All the shopkeepers there refused to sell anything. And this happened for a significant period of time when the Brahmins had to relent. And of course, Nagarathnamma's body was taken in a chariot, past her house to the Samadhi, and she was actually buried right next to the Tyagaraja Samadhi itself. And the outrage was quashed, and Bangalore Nagarathnamma had won again in her death. And that's how this woman who came from a terribly underprivileged background had channeled her talents to gain the respects of her peers, her community, her co-performers. She invested her entire wealth in the pursuit of her dream and her passion. She fought the establishment, and if it was not for Radhika Swantanamu, a book that she actually penned, which we haven't really gone into too much here, because it's actually a book about eroticism. But she penned that book and went against the establishment of that time. She fought against the anti-Nautch lobby through that book and through other mechanisms. And she also fought for the rights of women at a time when all of this was unthinkable. And finally, she brought the two movements, the Chinna Katchi and the Periya Katchi, together to form the Tyagaraja Aradhana as we know today. We will close with a song, Arulugonte, in Kannada again, as a homage to Nagarathnamma. So I think that didn't play. So we'll just close by saying thank you to V. Sriram's book. I actually have the book in my possession, so those who want to have a look at it, that's okay. The book is called Devadasi and the Saint, and it goes into details that I haven't been able to go into over here. Thank you so much.
Melbourne's very own, alongside Kuldeep, a visiting artist from India. Thank you.
with the